Spring, 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 what a magical time of year. Birdsong, flowers, signs of new growth everywhere, longer days, light evenings, the feeling of warm sun for the first time after a cold, dark, grim winter. We're now getting to that time of year when we get little, tantalising glimpses of the weather, the season that's to come. And then there's days like today, which are grim. The weather is atrocious. It's minging out here, not fun at all. But it's an exciting day because I've got some more new plants to share with you. So let me get into it right now. So yeah, far from the best day for paddling around in the garden, doing groundworks and, border preparations. So those kind of jobs will have to stay for another day. But if you look here, you will see something I have done this morning. Yes, just after 8 o'clock, I was out here in the pouring rain, really questioning my own sanity and giving the outside of a polytunnel a bit of a clean. Now, obviously, as I'm filming this now, I can see all the bits that I should have paid more attention to, but never mind, it's a start, isn't it? Starting job's the hardest bit, so we'll say it's 80% done right now. Heading in though, you can see it's pretty much made absolutely no difference at all because I now need to clean the whole rest of the inside. There's some bits like here where, yeah, definitely that's come from the weeds that are growing inside, but I will get on top of it eventually. Maybe not today though. So for those of you who found my last video filmed in here a little bit distracting because of the mess, today it's probably even worse because it's mostly clean and there's little bits of dirt, particularly at the top where I couldn't quite reach off a step ladder. But we are where we are. I'll probably save the internal cleaning until a 30-degree day, so I've got something to moan about another time. But anyway, today's video is going to start with this box here, a delivery from Pan Global Plants. Yes, I'm talking about exciting filler plants, unusual, exotic looking plants that you can fit into your garden. Plants for sun, plants for shade, easy plants, cool plants. Let's get into it. Well, as I now stand inside the polytunnel, I can indeed confirm that it is brighter, lighter. I'd love to say that you can see more sun streaming through it, but maybe at least the clouds now appear to be a brighter shade of grey, which I think this year is about all you can hope for, isn't it? But at least I was out here doing something, getting on. I'll try to find some kind of motivation in that. As the old Chinese gardening proverb says, if you can't handle your garden at its worst, you don't deserve it at its best. That might not be true. I think I probably read it on a poster at B&M. But anyway, enough waffling. It's time to get into the parcel. I should probably say I didn't buy these plants for the purpose of making a video. One of them came back into stock, so I had to make up my order to justify the postage cost. But they will, I won't promise you, these will be some of the last plants that I'll be buying for this new garden, and certainly the last plant delivery that I'll be taking in quite a while, so definitely an exciting moment. This box of plants then came from Pan Global Plants, all bought for with my own money. Obviously, I have to say that being YouTube, and I know how cynical some of you are, but definitely some exciting plants, which for me are going to form part of the borders in the new garden. But some of these, and the plants I'm going to share with you afterwards near the polytunnel door there, those are going into the existing garden. So these are, broadly speaking, exciting looking plants that I think you can work into an exotic garden, a tropical garden, even a normal woodland style garden where you wanted something a little bit more unusual. The first one, well, let me share with you this. A gorgeous little plant. One closely related to one I shared with you before. This is Epimedium Crime Scene, a beautiful little epimedium. Green leaves tinged with red, or should I say splattered with red. It really deserves a crime scene name. Nick describes this plant then as raised by his friends over at Far Reaches Farm in Washington. Brought over though by Pan Global, and pleased that this exciting plant is another option for us. You can't really tell from the foliage right now, but as these leaves get bigger, they get splashed with that blood effect. Obviously, it's got beautiful pink flowers, but let's face it, the main reason I grow epimediums is for the foliage. They're such an easy, undemanding, adaptable ground cover plant. And I love planting these around plants like tree ferns. Plants with quite vigorous root systems that create shade under them, under the palms, the ferns. Epimediums are a fantastic choice. You get fresh new growth, beautiful new leaves every single spring. You've got those flowers that come up. So yes, you do get a bit of seasonal interest, which is fantastic. But for the rest of the year, you've got a dependable, reliable, evergreen, beautiful ground cover. Ground covers are a fantastic opportunity to go out and buy some filler plants for your garden. And for me, if you're going to create a jungle garden or a tropical garden, or maybe even just an exotic themed garden, there's going to be shady spots. There's going to be places around plants where you just want something to go in there, something you don't need to dig up, mess around with. Epimediums, for me, a fantastic choice. Generally prefer a little bit of shelter, a little bit of shade. I've got some places where these will go very nicely. And then hopefully in the years to come, I'll be splitting them up, spreading them around, and enjoying more of this beautiful green ground cover. None of us gardeners like seeing bare soil in a garden, and neither does nature. So do the right thing and buy some ground cover plants to fill it up. At the end of the day, if a plant is described by Nick Mesa as one of the very best, it's certainly worth a try. Definitely in my garden, potentially in yours. And if you want to see how you can use plants like epimediums for layering, definitely check out my video over at Simon Maybury's Leeds Jungle Garden. How we can fit over 400 plants in a tiny new build style garden is just beyond me. But when you get into there, see the different levels, the layering of the plants like epimediums really have the part to play in creating a full and beautiful garden. But anyway, on from a shade-loving plant to one which prefers more sun. It's this here. A plant I've already bought a few of, but not this variety. This is the giant fennel, Ferula communis, subspecies glauca JCA, the Jim Archibald collection. There we go, put off most of my casual viewers. This is the very plant that I had my email address tagged to, waiting for it to come back in stock, so I bought a couple of them. Why would you want to grow this giant fennel then? Well, firstly, it's got giant in its name, which is always a big draw for a lot of us exotic plant lovers, but this giant fennel is something else. They really are the most amazing plants. Now, the first thing I will say is they're summer dormant, so most of their growth is actually done from late winter into spring. They do prefer a sunny spot, or they pretty much require it, but late winter, early spring, they'll soak up all this moisture and really put out some exciting growth. They've got these feathery leaves here. They form a sort of beautiful mound of this foliage. Then after maybe 3, 4, 5 years, they send up a flower spike. Springtime, you will see something erupts in your garden. It's very similar, in fact, to an agave flower. Truly majestic. On this particular plant, it's actually known for having a grayer bloom to it. Definitely a different look to the standard, more green form, Ferula communis. But this one, honestly, it just looks incredible. As soon as I saw the pictures, I was sold. If you can have something which looks like a perennial, grows like a perennial, but then puts out a 3 meter plus flower spike, you know, what is there not to love? And that flower spike, when it happens, the amount of pollinators they draw in, it really is something else. I think if you go back through my other videos, I'll put a link in the description below. When I visited Picton Castle Gardens, one of the earliest videos I did, I saw some of these in their exotic garden there. And honestly, the sight of them, they are sculptural, they are magnificent. So it's doing this plant a disservice to call it a filler plant. But I would describe it as a plant which pairs well with agaves, but pairs well with those yuccas, with palms. A lot of those Mediterranean style, sun-loving, exotic beauties would work in very nicely with this. Now, depending where you read, or in fact, it depends on the actual plants you've got, they can be monocarpic, meaning once that flower spike has done its thing, the actual plant dies. But hearing from other growers, they can actually be perennials and keep coming up beyond that point. But even if these plants are a one and done thing, I think they're absolutely worth growing. So I'll be planting these two beauties and some more of the more standard forms, the glauca and the original species, throughout the new garden space. Like I said, you get mounds of green foliage, very feathery, pairs well with grasses and a lot of the exotics that we enjoy growing. But then when you get that flower spike, it is something else well worth waiting for. So definitely an exciting plant, an investment plant, and one which I think will be truly dramatic. Okay, for the next couple, even for my videos, it's stretching things. They are indeed herbaceous plants, which die down to ground in winter. So I'm very much trusting Nick on this, and you will have to trust me. I'm not going to talk about these today because I've got lots more exciting perennials closer to the house ready for the new borders, so we'll go through those another time. Coming up, I should say, I've got videos all about the exciting shrubs I've chosen for this new garden, some really adventurous, unusual choices. I've got videos talking about the grasses coming up. There's some truly stunning varieties I've got lined up. And then when it comes to perennials, let's just say we've got a mixture of rich summer colour, beautiful autumn flowering plants, and then some spring stunners as well. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about that today. I will, though, be talking about the next plant, one which I bought 3 of. Yes, this is a plant I have had great success with before, growing around my 5-pet area, and I had to go for these for the new garden. What were some of my briefs for the new garden? Well, to put it briefly, you'll thank me for that, I essentially wanted the garden to have exciting looking plants, exotic looking but beautiful, tough and hardy plants that perform without a lot of extra care and, if possible, have a lot of benefits to the wildlife. And that's where this comes in. Eryngium agavifolium giant form. Yes, if you know me well, you'll know that that phrase giant form suckered me in, no problem at all. If these grow bigger than the standard Eryngiums, then it's going to be truly a sight to see. These, again, are a perennial. They're evergreens, you get the leaves in winter. They can look a bit tatty, but you know, they're still there, they're still growing. You're not going to cover them up with another plant in spring, are you? But when they flower, I think they really are a majestic looking plant. You've got this huge rosette, which, as the name suggests, agavifolium, literally look like an agave. They are very sculptural, very beautiful. And there's been a couple of times in my past tours around the fire pit area where I've said, if you wanted a very tough and hardy border that looks like an exotic agave collection, you could have plants like this and they capture the same kind of vibe, the same look really well without any of the tenderness worries. So this one, when it flowers, it brings in the bees, the hoverflies, everything. Such a stunning looking plant. A great filler plant. Again, that's probably doing it a disservice. Let's just say these pair very nicely, again with the yuccas, with the flowing grasses, with the summer perennials, whatever style of garden you've got, I think these make a really majestic, bold and sculptural option that's also great for the wildlife. So win-win. I've obviously bought 3 of them. So that's that one delivery over, and there's definitely something to be said for buying a few new plants or seeds even at this time of the year, just to give you something to really look forward to. But there are some plants which look fantastic right now, so I'll share with you some of those. Right then, here is a collection of plants I've bought for partly the new garden, but also maybe working into my existing garden. I am doing up the area around the new patio this spring. That's one of my projects there. So definitely some of these might work their way in. These are predominantly plants which, again, I would class as filler plants, companion plants, accessory plants. I've talked in the past about how one way for me that really brings a garden to life is pairing the smaller plants with the larger ones. Yes, you can layer and talk about structure in the garden, but very simply put, if you're going to plant a tall plant like a tree or a palm, I think it's often worth planting a few little ground covers, low-grown plants just around it at the same time to provide that interest, to cover up that bare soil and really link the garden together. It makes such a big visual difference. So these plants here, again, very tough, very hardy, very easy to grow. And these are actually inspired by some of my recent garden visits. The first plant I'd like to share with you is actually a purchase inspired by my video tour over at Kieron Manning's Navenby new build jungle. Again, I'll put a link to that video in the description below. Fantastic inspiration and ideas, especially for those of you with new build properties that want something exciting with a tropical edge. And it's this plant here, a hellebore, Helleborus argutifolius, Holly Leaved Hellebore. You can clearly see there the resemblance, a little spike around the edge of the leaves, a very bold hellebore, a very sculptural one. Now, unlike the hellebores you'll see over at Ashwood Nurseries, John Massey's collection, beautiful flowers, amazing looking things, this one for me primarily is grown for the leaf structure, the foliage. And as Kieron mentions in that video, he finds these to be a plant which is tough, adaptable, and just gets on with it. Doesn't need any kind of care. It's evergreen, so you get to enjoy this beautiful foliage all the way through the year. It's not going to get too big, just a beautiful little plant that will sit there and cope with the sun, the rain, the dry spells, and rain like this as well, and simply keep doing its thing. And when you see this in Kieron's central border, I think really it fits in with so many of the other exotics there. So a lot of these evergreens, these filler plants, they're not simply plants which we appreciate in winter. They're plants which have their role to play in summer, creating that full, leafy, jungle-style effect. I think this one will really do well for me here. My thoughts for this are probably near the far end of the garden, under my little row of apple trees down there. I want some lower level planting to create that density that I enjoy seeing, particularly with that far end of the garden being the backdrop to the plant in front. Some little plants like this to create that carpet of green really will bring some magic. And again, like I've said, around the jungle area, I think plants like this, they tie in so nicely with the scheffleras, the bamboos, the trachycarpus, and help create that green feeling of the garden wrapping around you even in the colder months. So that one, beautiful little thing. Coming up next then, we've got another hellebore. This one is actually a native plant, or a form of it anyway, Helleborus foetidus, or basically the stinking hellebore. I bought these ones from Beth Chatto Gardens last autumn time, so some of the odd leaves are looking a little bit tatty, but you got some fresh new growth coming through there. Again, I wouldn't grow these for the flowers, it's more about the foliage. And knowing that it's a native plant simply means it will get on with it. When it comes to filling the gaps in my garden, particularly the shady areas or plants having to cope and compete in dense root competition areas, I think plants which naturally grow in woodland style areas are the best choices. Rather than trying to shoehorn in a plant which definitely needs more sun, more of a root run, plants that naturally thrive in those areas seem to do best. You might as well lean into that. And these, for me, again, it's all about the foliage. In fact, I think when these are grown well, the foliage almost looks like a schefflera. It has that same kind of vibe to it. So if you've got a woodland garden, a forest garden, and you want a little exciting edge to it, I mean, let's face it, you're already growing Helleborus, but it's well worth going for a few more and chucking these in. Like a lot of these ground covers and smaller low-level plants, I think they're best off in groups, so definitely buy a few. I actually did buy a few from Brig Garden Centre, actually sold as the same thing. Again, yes, foetidus or foetidus, however you want to pronounce it, a herbaceous perennial, but look at the difference there. Now, there is a particular form which you can get that does have a red flush into the stems, but this one here has just got the tiniest little blush to the petioles, that if you can see it there, definitely a strikingly different plant despite being sold as the same thing. So as always, I'll be chucking both out in the garden and seeing which one performs best. Let them do the thing. Who knows, they might cross and produce even more weirder plants. That'll be cool, wouldn't it? But let's face it, Helleborus, they still get to around that size there. Down here though, we've got another woodlander, a beautiful ground cover. This is Galium odoratum, a plant I have spoke about in the past. I was inspired to grow this by Jodie Wilkin, Jungle Japonica, who has the most incredible garden full of exotics and beautiful companion planting. Everything just ties together so amazingly well. Kieron Manning, who I visited, he saw these as well and was inspired to try them in his garden. I've got a few dotted around my jungle area, but at the far in this garden here, where I want a woodland style exotic garden, a little bit of a combo hybrid garden, plants like this absolutely have to fit in. The ground covers will be the last plants that go in, really to fill those gaps and to tie the whole thing together. This Galium odoratum though, it's such a beautiful little plant. Yes, you walk right past it in the garden centre, but when you see it as it spreads nicely, you've got these lovely little green whorls of leaves, subtle but beautiful, and I think this pairs very well, again with the scheffleras, a lot of those woodland forest style exotics. You want something to go around the base of them, Galium odoratum is a great choice. When it comes to those low level proper ground covers, this is one of my favourites. I've already got it grown in the garden, but I wanted some more. A little ivy leaf cyclamen, Cyclamen hederifolium. Beautiful plant, AGM labels, you know it's going to be tough and hardy. Let me just show you those leaves there. If I can actually get you to focus on those. Look at that marbling. A beautiful little plant. Subtle, yes, but as most of you with established exotic and jungle style gardens know, the more you get into it, the smaller the plants that you want to buy actually have to be to fit them into the garden. Again, it's a beautiful little plant to go around the base of your trachycarpus palms, other shrubs in the garden. It likes those spots. They can cope with the summer dry. They're just beautiful little plants that do the thing. Again, another group of plants, Cyclamen, which are known for the flowers, but for me, it's all about the foliage. If you choose a plant with foliage that you like, the flowers are a bonus at the end of the day, aren't they? Better than having too many summer divas grown for the voluptuous, exciting summer flowers, but then they're a bit of a flop for the rest of the year. So as you can see here, this tray is a beautiful selection for me of mostly evergreen, mostly exciting foliage plants that I think will pair well with a lot of exotic jungle planting. So there we go then, some new plants and others waiting for their turn to be planted out in the garden. If you stick with my videos, you will see a lot of these plants going into our brand new garden project space. So coming up, I'll have videos, the whole process all the way through, from digging out the garden borders, from preparing the beds to planting, through to structure, how to design a border. So many exciting projects to get on with and some beautiful plants to get in the ground and really watch develop. That's what it's all about, isn't it? You don't have to spend loads of money at this time of year. It's a great time to look through the seed catalogues, go online, order a few packets of seeds, get some manuals in there, or go to your local garden centre, check out the ground covers. Often if you buy them in small pots, there's multi-buy offers available. You don't have to spend a lot of money to really produce a wow factor for your garden this year. And as I mentioned in the past, for me, yes, you can buy lots of specimen plants in a garden, but the things that really make it feel like a garden, like a proper space that wraps around you unveils itself in front of you. It's the lower level planting, it's the filler plants, the companion plants, and even the humble ground covers. Sometimes the smallest plants have the largest part to play, and I'm excited to see some of these work their way into my garden here. So anyway, thank you for watching what has been an impromptu filler video for me, having to make the most of an hour or so, but I hope you enjoyed seeing these plants. Let me know in the comments below, what plants have you bought already this year, what plants are on your list, and what exciting filler plants have you got lined up for your garden spaces. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you had a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you all very soon. See you later.